Welcome all to the weekly outlook. Boone here from EWPRO. Starting off with the DXY on the daily. We've got some good developments in this now. We've taken out this possible bear hidden here. We've broken that top over here. So we've taken out that bear hidden, so that's great. We can sort of identify a structure now. Because we've broken this high here, we've got to look for any sort of structures that can be, any corrective structures, or this can go up and break the top. So there is a couple of scenarios here. We get an A, B, C in here, and then we get an A, B, C for a larger running or expanding flat, and then we get an A, B, C. That's definitely possible. Or second scenario is, which is what I'd more inclined to look for, is like an impulse up here and we get a correction in here, and then you can look for a buy for at least an A, B, C. May turn motive W, X, Y, X, Z and break that top. I should just draw this fib here so you can see what we're looking for. If you got to watch, if you're getting into a buy on this, you have to watch this this 100 fib here. If it breaks straight through that 100 fib, well, then you can keep your trade. On the H4, you really need to wait. We're starting to get bearish divergence on the H4. So ideally, we get a correction in here, and then you can look for a buy, keeping in mind this 100 fib like I mentioned. If it breaks straight through that, well, you can keep it. If price just, comes up to this 100 fib, bounces off, and then gives you a sell setup, well, get out of your trade. But yeah, really, because we have this bearish divergence here, you really need to wait for a larger correction. On the H1, I wouldn't be buying into this, I mean, this may keep on going up slowly, but we're getting all this bearish divergence, so it gets very risky to buy. I mean, we may be getting some sort of a flat here, A, B, C in a flat for a W, well, an A, B, C up in here. But again, we're getting all that bearish divergence, so if you're looking for the buys, you have to keep very tight stops. Safest way is, like I said, on the H4, wait for that larger correction, and then you can buy into it. AU to AU. Sorry about that. So looking at that A, B, C, still not down to that 100 fib. We can get an A, B, C. The larger impulse is going to be up to the upside. So again, I'm really only interested in looking for buys. H4, we may get, because this is the high here, this didn't quite break the top, this top here. So, we've got some sort of a W, X, Y. You'd have to wait for an X2 and a Z down. We may get a bear hidden in here, if we get a bear hidden, well, then you could look for the wave Z down. But at this stage, like I said, I'm really only interested in buys. There's nothing to say that, this is not over, and we can get that Z down. But yeah, if we have a look on the H1, we're starting to get all this bullish divergence, So it gets risky to buy. It gets risky to sell. It's not giving any bullish setups, it's more correction. Like, we sort of got 1, 2, 3 down in here, so we can look for an A, B, C up here. If you're looking on the lower time frames to buy this, you have to be careful, because more than likely it's just an A, B, C regular flat, and it comes down, breaks the low again, and we get a bear hidden in here for another one down. So it's not really giving a nice buy setup. If it gives this sort of structure here and then gives us nice impulse up and then a correction, well then, you know, you can load up on it. But until we get a nice buy setup, it's going to be quite difficult to trade. Yeah, it's more scalping, you know, until we get a nice buy setup. EU on the daily, we got that A, B, C. This didn't go very far, you know. So again, like the DXY, this can be like an A, B, C here, and then we get an A, B, C for the larger flat before we get the A, B, C. So that's something to consider here. You know, it may not fall over and break that low. It may just give us one down in here. So if I just draw that fib here to the 100 fib, if you're getting into a sell here, if I go down to the 100 H4, if you're getting into a sell, you've got to be careful of this 100 fib here. At this stage, we still have that bull hidden on the H4 for a WXY X2, and we get that Z up. That still is possible, and we are getting bullish divergence here on the H4 as well. I mean, it won't be a Z up. This is a much larger correction, but it doesn't mean that you can't get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3 as a complex correction before you get downside. So, you know, because we have that bullish divergence, you have to wait for a larger correction before you can look for a sell. And for the buy, I mean, you definitely can look for a buy, because we do have a bull hidden there. Whether it will go is another story, but really, you know, looking at the H1, you can only buy. You know, we're starting to get all this bullish divergence. Again, you're going to have to be careful. If I just zoom in a bit here, you know, we got 1, 2, 3 down, so we can get 1, 2, 3 up as a flat, and then you get another one down. So if you're buying in here on the lower time frames, if I just go down to the lower time frame, you may be getting a buy set. See, we're getting some sort of a buy setup in here. If you're going to buy this, you have to be very careful, because it may just be an A, B, C before you get another one down. So it's more scalping. If it does take off and gives you some sort of a WXY, you could add to your position and look for the Z up, and keep your position, like keep the half of this position for the longer term for the H4 bull hidden. But that's sort of what I teach in my group. But yeah, it's more scalping at the moment. It's not giving us a nice buy setup. I mean, it's giving us a buy setup here, but it may be a flat, you know, for more downside. So if you're looking to buy this, you have to be careful. It may just be a flat for more downside. GU, this is looking more interesting for a sell. Rather than selling EU, I'd be looking to sell GU, you know, because this one gave us a nice A, B, C on the daily, bounced off that trend line. It's broken this trend line here, and we're getting a sell set up, you know. So this would be the one to look for the sell, and we'd be looking for, you know, at least 50 fib of this move here, you know, as your target. first target. Again, this one is very similar to EU. We do have a bull hidden here. You know, I was looking for that WXY, X2 and a Z up. We had that bull hidden. Now we have a bullish divergence. The thing is, I don't believe this here has been broken yet. Yeah, see, this low hadn't been broken. So that bull hidden here can still play out. And it can go up and break the top. So again, there's nothing really solid. If you're going to get into the buy, you really got to take the first opportunity. So if we look at the H1 here, you know, we got a nice impulse up here. We got 1, 2, 3, and then we get an A, B, C as the flat here. So if you get a bullish setup on the lower time frame, this is the entry that you want to get in for the bull hidden. If you're going to get into the bull hidden, you want to get into the first opportunity. Until this low here gets broken, the bull hidden is always possible. This is the invalidation for the bull hidden. So again, I shouldn't really be going down to the lower time frames, but you know, so we may be getting an A, B, C in here. You know, whether you put a buy stop above there and have your stop loss there, or what we do in our group. I can't go over how we trade, but yeah, if you get a buy set up, you can look for it, but you'll have to be careful, because this can be an A, B, C here, and then you get the excuse me, the A, B, C as the flat, and then you just get an A, B, C. So, you know, you want to be getting it to break even and monitoring your trade if you are getting in on this, you know. NU on the daily, very similar to AU, this one. We're getting that like A, B, C. The large impulse is going to be to the upside. Again, I'm really only interested in the buys. You know, there's nothing to say that this wave isn't over, but you know, the large impulse is going to be the upside, so that's the direction I want to trade in. On the H4, is there bullish divergence? There is bullish divergence just by the look of it, but again, this one, there's really not much on this. There's better sort of setups on the other ones that I've already gone through than this one, because here we got like 1, 2, 3 in here. It's already come up and it's come back deep. So this one may be a flat in here, and we get an A, B, C, just breaking that low, and we get an A, B, C up. If you get some sort of a structure like that, and then a sell set up over here on the lower time frames, well, then, you know, you could look for a sell. Again, it's scalping. It's not something I'd really do. I'm more interested in, if this sort of structure here plays out, well, I'd be looking for a nice impulse up, correction, and then looking for a buy. I'm more interested in the buys at these lows. GU on the daily. So we're looking at that WXY. We're still in this wave Y, and then we'd be looking for an X2 and a Z up. We're waiting for that correction. Internally here, we're looking at that WXY. We're still in that wave Y, and then get an X2 and a Z up. On the H4, you know, we don't have any bearish divergence in here. We got that nice impulse up. After we had this impulse up on the weekly outlook a few weeks back, we're looking for a correction in here to buy. This was your opportunity to get into buy here. You don't want to be getting into a buy up here. There is no bearish divergence. We really need a correction in here, and that may turn into a flat, you know, and you get an A, B, C. But either way, yeah, I wouldn't be looking for the buy at this stage. And you can't really sell it either. We do have like a possible bull hidden here. This is looking rather corrective. If you got a correction in here, you could give it a go, but you'd want to keep a tight stop, and yeah, just keep. I'd take a smaller lot size because than you usually take, because yeah, we do have a bull hidden there. We do have bearish divergence, so you could look for a sell on the lower time frames. If you get a sell set up, well, you could look for it. But yeah, there's nothing real solid on it at this stage. UY on the daily. So this is playing out pretty much how I was looking. A, B, C. It took a long time for us to get that C, internal C down here. Looking for it there and kept on going, and we've eventually got it, and we got a buy in this. Looking for that 100 fib, and like I've mentioned, it can even go up and break that top. H4, we are getting bearish divergence. So again, this becomes risky to buy. Yeah, it's really risky to buy, especially up here. I mean, this was your trade down here on the lower time frames, after we got this C down. This was your buy to buy up to the 100 fib, not buying up here. Buying up the top here is what marketers do. They tell their traders to buy up here, and then the traders wonder why they're losing money. The H1, we're getting all this bearish divergence. So again, you don't really want to be buying. It's more of a sell, but I don't even think there is a sell on it. Yeah, there's no sell on it. If you got a break over here, we got bullish divergence. So, if you were going to scalp the buys, you'd want a nice impulse up here, give you a correction or a flag, and then you could just scalp it. It's scalping, it's not trading. You're just scalping. But yeah, so there's no real sell setup on it, unfortunately. It's more of a buy if you get the setup. You need that nice impulse first, correction or flag, and then you could look for a buy just to break the top, and yeah, you'd be getting out. CAD on the daily. So we've been waiting for a correction, same as that over here in the X2. We do have that time factor now. At the very least, over here when we're down here, when we had this wave here, I was looking for at least an A, B, C, and it may take off and go and break that top for the W, X, Y, X2, and we get that Z up. It's gone past this 100 fib here now. So it's gone past this 100 fib. I'll take that off. Like I mentioned last week, this was quite difficult to get in for this. This is a WXY. We're still in this wave Y. This is looking like we may be getting some sort of an A, B, C in here. If we get an A, B, C in here, some sort of a flat, a similar size correction to this over here, well, then we could look for a buy for that wave Z up. This may be like an A, B, C as a running, or it may even be an expanding flat. But again, looking at the H1, we're getting bearish divergence, so it does become quite risky to buy. And you can see how slow and choppy this is. So this definitely can be an A, B, C, and this is a B wave breaking the top for a running or expanding flat. So yeah, I would be waiting for this wave down here and then a buy setup before I look for any more upside. I don't think there's any sell on it. I'll have a look. No, there's no sell on it at this stage. We have a bull hidden here. So you have to be very careful selling this. It may give you a sell, and you can look for it, but just keep in mind that you do have that possible bull hidden. So you want to take half the usual lot size you usually do. It's not the best setup. And yeah, you'd be targeting that 100 fib for the sell. The Swissy on the daily. So this one here, we've only been looking for a buy for a long time because we've got all that bullish divergence, like I've mentioned many times. We've got that A, B, C. This is very slow coming up here. I mean, on the H4, we had the 5 down. We got that W, X, Y, X2, the Z down. We got that bullish divergence. We had a nice impulse up. We got an A, B, and we're getting this very slow C up. I mean, I'm in a trade down here that I'm still on half, and I got in another one around here somewhere. They're both at break even. Now, if you're trying to get into this, it's going to be very risky because you can see how slow this is. You know, it's very slow. So more than likely, it's just like an A, B, C, may get up to the 100 pip. Or I'm hoping that it gets up to this 161.8, gives us another correction, and then we get 5 up. I'll look to add even more. But yeah, H1, you can see how choppy this is. This can be like a contracting flat here, and we get like an A, B, C, or a WXY. How can you get in it? Yeah, it's very risky to be getting in it at this stage. We've already got a large correction for the A, B. We're getting that C up. It's just about broken at the top, so you pretty much missed it. If you were looking for it, you'd have to go down to the M15. You're looking at a W, X, Y, X2, and a Z up. You'd be looking for some sort of an A, B, C in here as a flat, similar size correction to that over here. And if you got a bullish setup, well, then you could look for it. But it's more of a scalp again, because as soon as that top gets broken, more than likely you'll get like bearish divergence. So, EG on the daily. Get that A, B, and we're getting this extended wave C down, like I've mentioned. We sort of got a W, X, Y, we get an X2, and we get a Z down. It may come down to this 100 fib here. H4, yeah. You can only sell this, but you'd have to wait for a correction in here. And you'd want a correction too. And you'd want to make sure that it looks like a correction to sell it, because you are selling at lows, on the daily. So, you want to make sure this is a nice self setup before you look for the sell in it. H1, it's just one wave down. So you really, you may get some sort of a very choppy wave in here. Correction. If you get a correction, well then, you could look for the sell to break the low. That's about all there is. There is no buy setup, WTI. So we're looking at that WXY, looking for an X2 and then a Z down. We got that larger A, B, C in here, and then we got like an A, B, C breaking the low, and we have all that bullish divergence. So we've been looking for buys. This was quite choppy in here, so I was just looking for an A, B, C. It turned into motive structure. when we have a look on the H4, looking at that WXY, looking for that X2 before we look for the wave Z up. So last week we were looking for a sell down to this 38.2. Again here, we have to be very careful because we're getting a bull hidden here. We never broke that low. So this can be like an A, B, C, and then we get a larger C down, an A, B, C as a flat. And then you get like A, B, C. This did give a bullish setup in here. It actually it's going to be risky to trade because we sort of got a WXY in here, X2, we may get a Z down. So if you're looking to buy this, you want to keep a tight stop because it may just give you a little correction here on the lower time frame, just come up, break that top, and then falls over on you. So you will have to be careful. We have a bear hidden in here. So yeah. Gold on the daily. I don't really like this count, but we got an A, B, C. I don't really like it, but it's what we have. So then we get an A, B, C down to this 100 fib, like I showed last week. I think we are getting bullish divergence. We are getting bullish divergence. If this bullish divergence holds, and we get a bullish setup, you could look for the buy. I'm more interested in a buy because I don't believe this is over. This was very sharp here. So, and I don't really see that as a B wave. We got bearish divergence here, but this can be still an A, B, and we get a C down in here as some sort of a larger flat before we get to A, B, C. So, I'm not convinced this is over. I can't really see gold falling over too much. You can see on the H4 we're getting all that bullish divergence. H1 again, we're getting a lot of bullish divergence. So I don't really want to sell this. I'm only really looking for buys. Ideally, it comes down, breaks the low, gives a small bullish, internal bullish divergence, and then we get a nice impulse up. I'll be staying out of it until I get a nice impulse up, some sort of a correction or flag, and then I'll look for a buy. I'm more interested in the buy at this stage than scalping sells. Silver on the daily. This was quite interesting. We got that like WXY, X2. We had that bull hidden. We're looking for that wave Z up. We lost the bearish divergence in here. So it's just looking for a correction and then another one up. It gave us this nice impulse up, but it didn't give us the correction. Instead, it fell over. So it makes it very difficult. Is there a bull hidden on this? No, there's no bull hidden either. So it becomes very difficult to trade. I mean, I wouldn't be really looking at this as a flat here, but we got some sort of WXY. We may get an X2, and we will get, more than likely, we'll get a bear hidden here. So if you get a correction in here, you could look for another one down to go and break this low, and then you'd be looking for any bullish setup to buy, really, in my opinion. Bitcoin. has finally started to fall over. So this is pretty much played out how I was looking at it. I mean, we've got that impulse up. We've got 1, 2, 3 down in here. As soon as we had that, I was looking for a running or an expanding flat. We ended up getting an extended wave C as an expanding flat, as an A, B, C with an expanding extended wave. We got that W, X, Y, X2 and the Z up. We got that bearish divergence here. This was still looking rather bullish, you know. It wasn't giving us any nice sell setups. Now it's fallen over. So if we do get a nice correction in here, you can look for a sell. To break this low, to come and break this low of the red line there. So I think last week was like the others, you know, A, B, C, you know, we're looking for a sell, but it didn't really give us a nice sell setup. Now, if it does give you a correction, I dare say, you know, we'll get a bear hidden in here and it'll give you another sell. So you'll have to wait for the correction, and that could take a couple of weeks before we get some sort of a sell setup on it. I wouldn't be in a hurry to sell it because, you know, Bitcoin, it's very slow and gives long drawn out corrections. So, you know, this could take easy a couple of weeks before it gives us something to sell. S&P, so we're looking at that WXY. We're waiting for that X2 down to that 38.2 and then a Z up. Ideally, we get a bull hidden in here. This was quite difficult to get on. Didn't really give us a nice setup. Really, now I'd be waiting for a correction in here. If we get some sort of a correction in here and it looks corrective, well, then we can look for the sell. Targeting that 38.2 and then the 50 fib. Until we get that, I would be staying out of it. There's no, is there bullish divergence? We do have bullish divergence. So you may be able to scalp a buy out of it. It's quite choppy. You'd be waiting for some sort of an A, B, C, get a C down here. You'd have to go right down onto the lower time frames to get an entry. And you'd just be looking for an A, B, C as a scalp, really. We're getting bear hidden here by the look of it, so you'd be only scalping and more than likely it'll go out and fall over on you. AU 200 on the daily. So this has become quite difficult, like I've mentioned. I was looking for that A, B, C in here, and we get the larger A, B, C. Like I mentioned last week, I had to change my count because we got that A, B, C in here. And then I was looking for an A, B, C before we get the A, B, C. So we're getting a larger correction in here. The sell was last week, I believe, or whenever this was. We were looking for this sell here. This was the opportunity to get in. I said, don't miss it. So now, if you're not in it, you have to wait until this wave's over, give you a correction similar size to this over here, and you could look for the wave Z down. I wouldn't be going scalping down here. You have to wait. The safest way is to wait for a correction, and then you could trade that wave Z down. I'd be looking for some sort of a bear hidden in here. to give that Z down. On the H1, I mean, we sort of got 1, 2, 3 down in here, so we get an A, B, C. So if you're looking to buy this, you're just scalping, because more than likely it's just an A, B, C, and you get more downside. So if you're looking for the buys, you will have to be careful. The FTSE, unfortunately, this one here, you know, it's a contracting flat, like I said last week. Unfortunately, this didn't come up further to give us a good entry. Well, a nice C up. It's a contracting flat, you know, so, but it did give us a nice entry. I remember explaining this on the weekly outlook when we were getting this, to look for this sell and don't miss it, you know. Like this is very similar to the AU, looking for a WXY, X2 and Z down. You're waiting for this. That's the safest way to trade this now. Wait for the X2 or the wave 4, whichever way you look at it, and then trade that wave 5 down or the wave Z. The DAX, so we're looking at that A, B, C as that expanding flat before we get an A, B, C. We're waiting for this wave C down for a very long time. We had all that bearish divergence. Been saying for months now, you know, I'm only looking for a sell, but it just kept on crawling up. Now it looks like we're finally falling over. This one didn't give us that nice setup like the other two, and I said, you know, you're better off to trade the FTSE or the AU 200 rather than this like flat here. But you know, if you trade this pair, you could have tried to get in. Yeah, there's not much on this one. I would be, you know, I'd be waiting for a correction, very similar to AU 200 and the FTSE. You know, I'd be waiting for a larger correction in here. This is just one wave down. I'll be waiting for a correction and then look for a sell, but that you have to wait for a correction. So I hope you enjoyed the weekly outlook. Help the channel out, share and subscribe, hit the thumbs up. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you out there next week.